As the Russian invasion of Ukraine enters into 67th day, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy today urged the Russian soldiers not to fight in Ukraine, saying even their generals expected thousands of them would die. He said Russia has been recruiting new troops, but there's little motivation and little combat experience for the unit that were gutted during the early weeks of the war, and that these units could again be thrown back into the battle. He further made a bold claim, stating Russian commanders fully understand that thousands of them will die, thousands could be wounded in the coming weeks as the war refuses to end. And through the 67 days, India today has been reporting from the war zone. We are not depending on secondary sources. Our team of reporters has been traveling across Ukraine. India Today's defense editor Abhishek Bhalla is also right now on ground zero. He spoke to Yurash, who's the youngest member of parliament of Ukraine's Donbas region, where several areas are under Russian control. Listen in to this exclusive conversation.
We are in Barankova, which is close to the Donbas region. And this is where a lot of intense fighting has been happening. There are a lot of places which are under control of the Russians. The Ukrainians are also holding their positions. And as a result of that, there is a lot of fierce fighting here in this region. You've been traveling along part of humanitarian aid. You're also in the army now. You are a parliamentarian, a former journalist. What exactly is the status of this region?
Well, the reality is that the fighting was happening in Kiev region, Kiev city, where I was. And after that point, when Battle of Kiev was won, the Russians changed strategy. They were trying to basically move against the force in Donbass, trying to cut them off to at least present some victories along the way. But they basically had their forces completely pushed back, and Baravinkova is just another story of Russians trying to push in and failing badly and clearly. And so the fighting continues in this area.
Everybody knows that India has had traditional close relations with Russia. But where do you see, but India plays an important role because India has also abstained even when it came to a UN, to a Russian proposal at the UN.
The reality that India needs to face the reality of Russia is these days. And the connections you're mentioning are not connections with Russia, connections with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union is no more. And Russia, and modern Russian state, what it's doing to the world, not just to Ukraine, by no measure. You can look at the situation in Syria, Venezuela, Central Republic, and you can see what Russia is all about today. Now, when Russia is clearly showing that it's willing to conduct this terror and horror around my country, and India needs to examine this. As India is the leader, one of the leaders of the 21st century, and needs to face those moral choices everybody else does.
Ukraine has mounted a far better resistance to Russian forces than many expected, with the help of arms and ammunition from the West specifically. Remember, the United States of America is ramping up military support for Ukraine, sending consignment of M77 155mm ultralight artillery guns and also Brimstone ship-based guided missile system. All of this could possibly hold off Russia's advances, or it may not succeed. Take a look at this.
Ukraine's fight back. Its monumental homeland defense for over 2 months has overwhelmed world headlines. A former Soviet state, flooded with Western weapons to take on a gigantic invader, has come to define a reloaded Cold War amidst the heat of a very real battle. And now, after over 2 months of death, destruction and damage, 2 more Western weapons have been lined up for the Ukrainian military. The United States has just cleared consignments of M777 155mm ultralight artillery guns for Ukraine. A handy and powerful weapon is also in service with the Indian Army. On Thursday, the US Department of Defense released these images of M777 guns loaded into C-17 transport jets for a ferry flight to Ukraine. The Australian government has also shipped sets of M777 guns to Ukraine. The M777 is an ultra-light howitzer gun that has seen action in Afghanistan, with the capability to fire shells including smart shells, to ranges of anywhere between 25 and 40 kilometers, and will highly welcome for Ukrainian border artillery units looking to target Russian positions. The other weapon system cleared for delivery to Ukraine is the Brimstone ship-based guided missile system. British media reports suggest that the weapons could be supplied both in their anti-ship as well as land attack versions. The missile could pack formidable close-in punch on small ships and boats in the Black Sea, a theatre where the Ukrainian military scored the mother of all kills recently with the claimed sinking of Russia's Moskva cruiser. The Brimstone could prove an even bigger nuisance to the Russian Navy's Black Sea assets. The two new Western weapons join a steady flow of military hardware into Ukraine, allowing the invaded nation to mount a credible defense of territory despite the enormous damage done to its soil. The weapons have been cleared at a decisive time in the combat. The latest Russian missile attacks on Kyiv, weeks after Russia had de-escalated in Ukraine's capital, suggest that Putin's war machine could still attack in areas it disengaged from. The escalation ahead will clearly see more advanced weapons and likely more destructive combat. Bureau Report, India Today.